Hey everyone, it is second recording attempt combustion not here. Your oh whatever, I'm dropping it. We're gonna jump straight in. Um Also I apologize again. Peeking the mic, but I also watched my YouTube video back, one of them, and I'm just really quiet, so you probably can't even hear what I'm saying half the time. So instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn up my mic to halfway, and I'm gonna turn up my well, maybe I should turn this down a tiny bit. I don't know. I just know that I might be kind of... Listen, man. Maybe if I go like this. Ooh. Can I go... Ooh. Can I go like this? How's this? How's this? Testing. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it works. I'll have to turn down my mic for when I'm talking to my friends in Discord, but it's just I'm really... I'm really quiet, but when I'm not quiet, it says that I'm, like, peeking the mic. So anyways... I apologize for the bad audio once again. I don't know how to audio engineer, man. You have to forgive me. Alright, so today's episode, today's little speed paint, study, whatever, is going to be a conglomeration of 3. In the last recording, I mentioned that I do kind of want to go back into more like discussing theory or process or just anything that's like going to be, you know, that's going to be more like on topic for like speed painting, right? I kind of also like the really casual, like, how you doing? No, I'm just going to ramble for 20 minutes. That's also fun, but I should probably work on just kind of sticking to the point. Obviously, as someone with ADHD, that's not my strong suit, and maybe it's not ADHD's fault. I'm going to blame it on it because I get to play the disability card too, just because I want to. Anyways, today is a late shift at work, 5 to 10. We got a couple new employees because they're shutting down stores in my area because they're not profitable. So interpret that sort of omen as you will. First things first, I'd like to discuss some more Blood Meridian, just because I like that book, and I want to talk about it. And I saw a video the other day that kind of piqued my interest. So, when I first listened to, I won't lie, I listened to the audiobook of Blood Meridian like 3 times, and I apologize that I'm not a real bookhead, and I didn't actually read it. I'm a faker, but it is what it is. Anyways, at the ending, spoilers by the way, you just read the book, okay? It's like 20 chapters. It's really short. It's like a 12-hour read. Just I don't know, read it, bitch. Sorry, that's impolite, and I shouldn't swear. I apologize. The epilogue of Blood Meridian involves someone either like digging fence posts or like digging railroad posts or something. I forget. Basically, a guy is digging. And I'm like, okay, what does this mean? It doesn't really matter, I guess. And to me, I guess some people interpret that like, oh, it's the end of the West that allowed the judge to exist. Maybe, right. And so that thought process is getting me to think, well, where's the judge now, right? Whether or not he's actually a god, or a man, or the demiurge, or an angel, doesn't really matter. What is the judge in the sense that a person who manifests the judge, or a person who manifests his ideology, or his style of existing, right? Where would the judge be if he was like just brought back into the modern world, into the contemporary landscape? What is the judge? And my first thought, because I'm basic and not very critically adept, was like, oh, probably a CEO kind of guy, right? And then I was like, no, that's stupid. And then I saw a video about Palantir, and I totally forgot like what the video is called. It's a pretty recent one. I might link it down in the description, but it discusses Palantir. And if you don't know, Palantir is I believe it's a private company. I don't think it's publicly traded, or maybe it is because it's got stocks, right? So maybe it is a publicly traded company. Point is, it is a company that deals a lot in government grants and like, like they want government money to do stuff. They get paid by the government to do stuff, and what they do is like data consolidation, data integration, anything that is like, anytime you try to like, oh, I want to stay anonymous online, they're the guys trying to thwart that. And they're also trying to incorporate that into like real world things, like, security cameras, all this stuff. They are controlling, consolidating, and organizing data in a way that allows them to make predictions about you. And not just about you, but everybody. And it's not just about everybody, but it's about everything. And the guy in the video, I'll link it in the description, this is not my original thought, says that Palantir deals in the authorship of history, or the authorship of reality. And I'm like, oh my god, it's him. It's Mr. the Judge Holden. It's the guy. That's what the judge does. In the modern world, it's not necessarily about collecting artifacts and destroying them. It's about creating so much noise and collecting so much noise and then reproducing so much noise that you manufacture your own reality because you can't really tell the truth anymore. That's like a whole simulacrum thing, right? Like, I forget, was it Bordeaux, Dubois, Harrier Dubois, my favorite philosopher from Reverchol. I apologize. No, it's some French nerd talking about like philosophy and spectacle and simulacrum and all this stuff. And I don't know, man. I'm too lazy and tired, and I got a 5 p.m. shift tonight. I really don't have the energy to go through and give you like the whole rundown and all this stuff. Just like watch BreadTube or whatever. It sucks. Sorry, no politics. Don't watch BreadTube. That's politics, and I cannot give an opinion about that in my channel. So don't do anything, basically. Anyways, in the way that the judge functions, it doesn't really matter if he's a guy or a not guy. It's about him controlling history. It's the reason why war is God, because his idea is that to obliterate one side of the equation is to make the other side the sole heir to history, the sole witness of history, the only person who can attest to something existing. It's why he asks the kid if he's posted vanguards to report back on the fact that a place exists to him. It's why when I think it's Black Jackson is getting like accused of something by a police officer or like a sheriff, the judge is like, well, there's no evidence of this crime, there's no witness of this crime, so how can you take this man in, right? Back in the day, the only way to have a witness is to have a real physical person there. But now in the modern day, witness is digital. Witness is cameras and photographs and audio recordings. But in the advent of AI, even that is something that's up for debate. I think even reality is entirely questionable, and the only thing you can trust is the fact that another person who you're seeing in the real world is telling you something. And I'm losing the plot. Thank you so much, brain, for functioning in this way. My point is that Palantir collects and distorts and presents reality in the same way the judge does. And the reason why war is God is not because war is awesome and people die and dying is powerful. It's because it controls history and perception and understanding is our reality. Like the idea that Romans and Greeks and Egyptians, all 500 years apart, doesn't really matter. Just that distance of perception and understanding and background knowledge totally changes the way in which they live. Like a person stands on the earth, and before they know that it rotates or that it's an oblong sphere or whatever, an ovaloid, it's just flat and it's just still. That must be a difference in the way the earth and the world feels and the way perception works. And it's like they want to Holy cow, this sounds schizophrenic. Like, I don't mean that. I know, I'm sorry, that I hope that doesn't sound too ableist or whatever, but like, I'm totally rambling in a way that is not productive, and I apologize. I guess I can tie it back in the idea that, so, the reason why I think that when the judge says war is God, it's because it's about stories and history. I think we see this in like the physical reality of Samuel Chamberlain's book My Confession, which is like one of the only accounts we have of like members of the Glanton gang, from what I understand. You know, because obviously these people apparently were real historical figures, but you know, Cormac's is a sort of mythologized, serialized, not serialized, but surrealized, like made into a strange surreal fiction account of these people. And in that way, Samuel Chamberlain acts as the judge. He acts as the sole witness, the sole interpretation of reality, right? Which is pretty cool, because he's the only one who can really attest to those events having happened. And whether or not other people also said they happened, or also like attest to it happening, doesn't really matter, because we don't have those accounts anymore. We have his confession, Samuel Chamberlain's confession. And you know, I think that's like a really interesting meta textual element of the story of Blood Meridian, because that's what the judge seeks to do, to control narrative, to control history, to control perception, to manufacture or make himself some sort of judge, some sort of god over this information. And in a way, Cormac does this himself by creating a story, by manufacturing this reality. And I know, to people who actually like have discourse or like know about Blood Meridian or have read it, or like, were there when it was released and read it and kept up with any sort of dialogue about it, this is probably very, very, very basic stuff to you, which I apologize for. And why are you watching this video? You're probably like 60 years old. Oh fuck, where was I going? To me, it made me feel really happy, because I was able to put this together with like contemporary discussions on the subject, and maybe even in spite of some contemporary discussions on the subject. Like, the reason why I specified that war isn't God because it's powerful and death is powerful, or whatever, death is power or whatever, is because you see a lot of younger people most likely talk about, probably from Wendigoon's video on the subject, talk about Blood Meridian, and their interpretation is like, oh, it's like literal God, like a literal, and maybe it is in the book, but the interpretation of it being a literal God is a little bit superficial. It's a little bit like, oh, like there's a god of war, or war is God because it has power. And it's like, it's more so war is God because the victor of war dictates reality, and the war determines which reality is left over. And this is debatable, especially if you're like a revisionist in history, like if you're an actual historian. I guess a lot more history is learned about from like reading tax logs and like trade agreements and shit, which is kind of lame, but it is what it is, I guess. To each their own. If you like, anyway, sorry, I don't mean that. I'm trying to be silly. It is, yeah, so it's just, I'm trying to come to a deeper conclusion than maybe other people in my generation about it. Because, like, yeah, the judge is really cool, and yeah, he is creepy and evil, but it's like, there's so much more to the book than just the judge. And I know that's ironic, because I'm talking about the judge specifically in this discussion, or this, like, ramble, but it's like, I don't know, man. It's really fun to think about what is the judge in the contemporary day. What is writing our history? What is writing reality? And right now it's Palantir. So I will not advocate for any sort of action, because that would be political, and I'm not political. But I just felt like telling you guys about it. It's kind of fun. I guess Palantir doesn't necessarily do the whole flooding the zone aspect of it, but I guarantee you the people that they serve will use whatever data they can to flood information to you, whether that's, the YouTube algorithm, or ads, or marketing, or whatever, or like propaganda in the form of news media. they will be basically just overriding reality constantly with new things to focus on. So if anything, I guess I'd advocate for you to never watch the news again. Like, not even like independent journalists, maybe just like find like 5 other dudes that you're friends with and go out into the woods and like start a commune. I think that's the only way you can be like not political, maybe. Don't acknowledge the fact that a commune involves a political system, because it is policy by nature. Like any sort of organization is policy by nature. So ignore that part, okay? I'm doing my best. But it is, yeah, I just think that's, I don't know, I think I did okay when it comes to that interpretation. Well, yeah, anyways. And it's so obvious to anyone who reads the book, probably, but because it's like the only areas that I'm around that have read or know about the book are like YouTube kids, like not YouTube kids, but like, kids or people my age on YouTube, it feels like you kind of have to go wrap around into this, like, I don't know how to say it, so I'm not going to. You just have to do more work to like get something deeper than just like lay judge creepy, lay war bad, which it is, and which he is, which it is. Speaking of, I had a nice conversation about a Cormac involved media with my dad. My dad very much likes No Country, so I recommended him Blood Meridian. He likes the movie, not the book. He used to read a lot in high school, but obviously he's an adult male who works a job that is, very long hours, very busy, so he doesn't have a lot of time to read. He gets home, he's tired, make dinner, go to bed kind of thing, right? So I was like, you should listen to like an audiobook. That's what I did. It's really great. And so we were talking about No Country, and I think it's fun because Cormac seems to have a theme of fate and will to power to like butcher a Nietzschean idea, to butcher it, like a will to power, like a person's will to change reality or to have power over reality or fate. You can see that in both Holden and Sugar. Because, I mean, like, first of all, Anton is less successful. He's defeated by fate via the fact that, he's struck by a car. I think the judge is unsuccessful because he's written about, even hypothetically, the real version of the judge, which didn't do this. We have no evidence to support that he did this, from what I understand. The fictionalized version of the judge is defeated by Cormac writing this history about himself, rather than the judge being able to determine the history of this. And, I mean, maybe this is untrue because there's a lot of, like, blank slate talk in Blood Meridian. There's a lot of ideals of like not having a father because then you're not tied down by his legacy, not having a past because you're not tied down by the perception and reality of others, that kind of thing. And war erases that perception of others. War erases that past and that tangible, talk aboutable story and history. It's like anyways. But Anton is a little bit different. He's just worse. Basically, he's just like lame, but he's awesome. He's a great villain. I just wanted to talk about an extra thing on the topic of Cormac, that I noticed that the story that the sheriff tells Llewellyn's wife about the cattle guy who was like trying to put down a beef to like, butcher and stuff, and he shoots it with like some sort of specialized gun, but it's still a gun, and the lead ball ricochets off the cow's skull and it hits him in the arm, and then it basically palsies that arm for life, and it's never going to be the same way physically ever again. It's never going to be as useful. It's never going to be the same tool that it was. He can't even tip his hat or whatever. And then that very same thing happens to Anton in a sort of, like, in a basile way. Like, so it is an act of fate. Anton is finished enacting his will over another, and he's driving, he's obeying the rules of the road or whatever, and then he is struck by a car that, by accident. This accident wasn't done on purpose. It wasn't the police officer taking him out. It wasn't Llewellyn coming back from the grave to kill Sugar. It was just an act of fate. And in this very same moment, his arm is shattered. We don't know how bad the extent of the injury is. I'm presuming it's actually worse than we see, because he gets a compound fracture from a car accident, and I can only assume the upper portion of his arm is also, like, totally destroyed. And he's not only put at the will of another behind the wheel, but he's also put at the will of children who choose to help him, which, you know, innocence and all that. I think Cormac McCarthy also likes to touch on innocence and, whoa, probably shouldn't have said it like that. Sorry, that's not funny. I should cut that out. He likes to talk about or discuss innocence and the destruction of innocence, you know. You see that a lot in Blood Meridian. Anyways, and these kids choose to help him, and Anton gives them money because now it's not their choice to help him, it's Anton's trade with them. It is Anton's will to, you know, like, I forget if money is a crystallization of value or if it's a crystallization of, I think it's a crystallization of value, not a crystallization of labor, because I think a crystallization of labor is commodity or product or whatever. I'm doing my best here. Anyways, so, but in this way, Anton is permanently crippled. Like, I don't think you can just recover from a compound fracture without medical assistance. And if he gets medical assistance, he's screwed. The doctors report his lack of identity or his identity. He's tracked down by the police and he's defeated by the system. So obviously he has to go out on his own and fix his arm. And without, like, professional medical aid, there's no way this destroyed arm is ever going to be the same that it was. And so you have the fully tied around the cattle, I guess the cattle executioner in both senses. You know, Anton also uses a cattle gun, and in the same way he is struck down by fate, by pure accident. He is taken away out of this position that he had. You know what I mean? I don't think, and this isn't deep. This isn't something that hasn't already been discussed, but I'm happy that I came to the conclusion just from my own base principles, I guess, from my own, like, analysis of the media. I don't really consume a lot of media analysis of, like, of No Country. I do for Blood Meridian. I've watched a good amount of video essay on the topic. I think it's The Road to Cormac McCarthy or something like that. He's like a lecturer who's taught in college classes or college literature classes, and he has some videos up. Oh, there was this one 6-hour one. The video was called All Men Must Die, and that's a good one. And then there's also, like, a different perspective on the judge, which is a good one. That's the one where I kind of got my interpretation. Like, my original interpretation was like a Gnostic myth kind of one, where the judge is trying to snuff out the light of humanity kind of stuff, which I think is an aspect, and I think it's fun. I think it's awesome. It's a great way to look at it. It makes everything feel way more whimsical and awesome, because the book is awesome. But I don't think it's necessarily the main takeaway from the story, so I guess I've kind of, like, moved on from it. When I read the book, I move on from that interpretation of it. But yeah, sorry, this one is a little bit, my first go at this was a lot less cohesive, and I think I'm a little bit more satisfied with this one. Ideally, this may be the last time I talk about media, or specifically, like, a specific kind or specific work, and like, try to, like, just ramble about it. I'd rather just talk about my own work or talk about work that inspires me in, like, a more analytical or, like, theoretical practice kind of way, like what I can get out of the work and how it'll affect my work. I just wanted to talk about these ideas because they've been floating around in my head, and I want to make sure people know that they were my idea, at least as in my idea that I came up with myself, rather than, like, stolen from, like, someone else and just repeating it to my friends, or, like, I don't know. That makes me sound like way more, I don't know, I'm self-absorbed. Of course I am. I'm an artist. Like, if I cared about other people, I would just be a plumber or something. But, yeah, so, sorry, it's kind of, I'm getting tired. I think I need to re-up on my medication. I hope you all have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a longer one. I'm going to try to keep it from being long in the future. And, yeah. You guys stay safe, and stay happy, stay healthy, eat veggies, get some sun on my behalf. I know I need it. I'll see you later.